या देवी सर्वभूतेषु बुद्धिरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः. Standard 12 English Second Language. I express my gratitude to Gujarat State Board of School Textbooks. This is not meant for any commercial or economic gain. Content. Unit 2. Read to Unforgettable Walt Disney. The lesson is written by Roy Disney. My brother Walt is no more, yet his influence lingers like a living presence over the studio where he turned out the cartoons, nature films, and feature movies that made him known and loved around the world. Even now, as I walk around the studio crew, I half expect to encounter that tall country boy figure, head bowed in, thought about some new projects. Here is Walt Disney, his short profile as the artist hero. Walt is known for his cartoon series, nature films, and feature movies like Snow White. Walt was so much the driving force behind all we did, from making movies to building Disneyland, that people constantly mention his name as if he was still alive. Every time we show a new picture or open a new feature at Disneyland, someone is bound to say, I wonder how Walt would like it. And when this happens, I personally realize that it was something he himself had planned. For my imaginative, industrious brother left enough projects in progress to keep the rest of us busy for many, many years. As Roy Disney said, Walt was quite imaginative and industrious. Walt had a complex personality. To the writers, producers, and animators who worked with him, he was like a genius man who could add an extra stroke of imagination to any story or idea. It was his extraordinary ability. To the millions of people who watched his TV show, he was a warm, kind person, bringing fun and pleasure into their homes. To the bankers who financed us, I'm sure he seemed like a wild man, hell-bent for bankruptcy. To me, he was my amazing kid brother, full of impractical dreams that he made come true. Walt had a complex personality. He was a genius man. At the same time, for the bankers who financed him, he was a wild man. The apple orchard and weeping willows stand green and beautiful at our old farm, where Walt sketched his first animals. I recall how Walt and I would snuggle together in bed and hear the haunting whistle of a train passing in the night. Our Uncle Mike was an engineer and he would blow his whistle, one long and two shorts, just for us. Walt never lost his love for trains. Walt sketched his first animals. He never lost his love for trains. An old fashioned train was one of the first attractions at Disneyland. As far back as I can remember, Walt was fond of drawing. The first money he ever made was a nickel, 5 cents, for a sketch of neighbor's house. He studied cartooning in Chicago and then he started a little animated cartoon company in Kansas City that flopped. I was in Los Angeles when Walt, just 21, decided to try his luck in Hollywood. I met him at the station. He was carrying a cheap suitcase that contained all of his belongings. We borrowed $500 from Uncle and Walt started a cartoon series called Alice in Cartoonland. It was tough going. Walt did all the animation and I cranked the old fashioned camera. The Alice cartoons didn't make much of a splash, so Walt started a new series called Oswald the Rabbit. Oswald did better, but when Walt went to our New York distributor for money, he ran into trouble. Money nickel. Nickel means 5 cents. 100 cents means $1. Alice in Cartoonland is Walt's first cartoon series. Oswald the Rabbit is Walt's second cartoon series. What kind of a deal did you make it? I asked. We haven't got a deal, Walt admitted. The distributor copyrighted Oswald and is taking over the series himself. Strangely, Walt didn't seem downhearted. We are going to start a new series, he said. It's about a mouse, and this time we will own the mouse. The rest is a history. Walt's mouse, Mickey, celebrated his 40th birthday in 1968. A quarter of a billion people saw a Disney movie in 1968. 100 million watched a Disney TV show. Nearly a billion read a Disney book or magazine, and almost 10 million visited Disneyland. And Mickey, as Walt used to say, started it all. In 1968, Mickey celebrated 40th birthday. Mickey was only the first successful product of Walt's matchless imagination, an ability to make his dreams reality. It was an ability he could turn on for any occasion, large or small. Once, when my son Roy Edward had the measles, Walt came and told him the story of Pinocchio, which he was making at the time. When Walt told the story, it was a virtuoso performance. His eyes riveted his listener. His mustache twittered expressively. His eyebrows rose and fell, and his hands moved with the grace of musical conductor. Young Roy was so wide eyed at the Walt's graphic telling of the fairy tale that he forgot all about his missiles. Later, when he showed the finished picture, he was strangely disappointed. It didn't seem as exciting as when Uncle Walt told it, he said. Mickey Mouse and Oswald the Rabbit are the successful creation of Walt Disney. Mickey is the product of his ability to make his dreams become reality. Mickey was only the first successful product of Walt's matchless imagination. Here is Roy Disney with Walt Disney. Like many people who worked to create humor, Walt was serious about it. He would often sit gloomily through the funniest cartoon, concentrating on some way to improve it. Walt valued the opinions of those working with him, but the final judgment was always unquestionably his. Once, after viewing a new cartoon with evident displeasure, Walt called for comments from a group of our people. One after another, they spoke up, all echoing Walt's criticism. I can get rubber stamps that say, "Yes, Walt," he snapped. Then he willed and asked the projectionist what he thought. The man sensed that dissent was in order. "I think you are all wrong," he declared. Walt just grinned. "You stick to your projector," he suggested. Walt involved himself in everything. During one story conference on the Mickey Mouse Club TV show, the storyman, pointer in hand, was outlining a sequence called How to Ride a Bicycle. "Now, when you get your bicycle," he began. Walt stopped him. "Change your bicycle to a bicycle," he said. "Remember, every kid isn't fortunate enough to have a bicycle of his own." How nice man he was. The story of Disneyland illustrates Walt's vision and his stubborn determination to realize an idea he believed in. For years, Walt had quietly nursed the dream of a kind of amusement park. It would be potpourri of all the ideas conjured up by his fertile imagination. But the idea of sinking millions of dollars into an amusement park, even Walt's kind of amusement park, seemed so preposterous that he won't mention it to anyone. He just quietly began planning. The story of Disneyland illustrates Walt's vision and his stubborn determination to realize an idea he believed in. Walt had quietly nursed the dream of a kind of amusement park. As usual, though, he infused all of us with his own enthusiasm when he finally told us about the project. Someone asked, "Walt, how should the Disneyland look?" Quick came the reply, "It should look like nothing else on this earth." Predictably, we had trouble raising money, but the Disneyland did open in July 1955. Since that first day, millions of people have flocked to see the unique creation of Walt's imagination. Like a kid with a new toy, the biggest, shiniest toy in the world, Walt used to wander through the parks, staring as happily as any tourist. Overwhelming success of Walt's crazy idea triggered a dramatic about phase in the Disney fortunes. Yet, success never changed Walt. He remained the simplest of men. He hated parties, and his idea of a night out was a burger and chili at some restaurant. His only extravagance was a miniature railroad that ran around the grounds of his home. What do you do with all your money? A friend once asked him, pointing at the studio. Walt said, I fertilized that field with it. And it's true that Walt plowed money back into the company. Being solvent for the first time since he started in business gave Walt a chance to develop other ideas. This included the development of mineral kind and alpine like valley eye in the Syria Mountains, a California Institute of Art, for which he donated the land and several $1 million. And most ambitious of all, $100 million Disney World and City of Tomorrow in Florida. Tragically, in the midst of all this activity, Walt was stricken with this fatal illness. I heard him refer to this cruel blow only once. Whatever it is I have got, he told me, don't get it. I visited him in the hospital the night before he died. Although desperately ill, he was full of plans for the future. Walt used to say that Disneyland would never be finished, and it will never. I like to think, too, that Walt Disney's influence will never be finished, that through his creations, future generations will continue to celebrate that precious, ageless something in every human being, which makes us play with children's toys and laugh at silly things and sing in the bathtub and dream. At last, the day took Walt Disney.